The night smelled of smoke and blood. Ash drifted like black snow across the trees as a little girl crouched beneath the roots of an old oak, her heart pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. She pressed her palms over her mouth to muffle her breath. The world she knew, her pack, her family, was burning. Above the tree line, the moon bled crimson. It wasn't the soft silver orb the elders prayed to every full cycle. No, tonight it pulsed like a wound in the sky. Each beat of red light painted the forest floor in eerie shades, revealing bodies, shadows, and the faint glow of eyes hunting through the dark. "Run, Arya." Her mother's voice still rang in her head, the last thing she'd heard before the screams began. But Arya couldn't run anymore. Her legs trembled, her small hands clutching a wolf pendant slick with blood. She didn't know if it was hers or her mother's. Then silence, the forest held its breath. A whisper drifted through the air, neither human nor wolf, something ancient. It curled through the smoke and wrapped around the girl like a ghostly lullaby. "The powerless one will rise." The whisper slid beneath her skin into her veins, and for a moment her body glowed faintly. A mark, a thin crescent entwined with flame, shimmered across her collarbone, burning with both pain and promise. Arya gasped. The mark pulsed once, and the crimson moon above flared brighter in response, as if recognizing her. "You will hide until the world forgets your name," the voice murmured. "When they reject you, the truth shall wake." And just like that, the forest erupted again, claws, snarls, the crunch of footsteps drawing near. Arya crawled deeper under the roots, shaking uncontrollably. The mark on her skin dimmed, hiding beneath the dirt and tears. Somewhere in the chaos, a howl rose, not one of rage, but of mourning. It was the sound of her pack's end. And her beginning. By dawn, only smoke and silence remained. The little girl stumbled into the ash-covered clearing alone, the pendant still clutched in her hand. Behind her, the red moon faded into pale morning light, taking its secret with it. She was powerless, or so the world would believe, but the moon had already chosen her, and one day it would bleed again. The years had been unkind to Arya. The forest that once held her nightmares now surrounded the Silverfang Pack's territory, a place she called home only because she had nowhere else to go. The pack treated her like a ghost that refused to die. She swept the training yard as dawn broke, her fingers raw and cracked from the cold. The air was sharp with frost, and pride, the kind of pride that came from wolves who could shift, who could run free under the moonlight. Wolves unlike her, still sweeping Omega, sneered a young warrior, tossing a bone to her feet. "Maybe if you beg hard enough, the Alpha will let you shift into a rat next full moon." Laughter rippled around her. Arya said nothing. Her wolf stirred faintly inside a presence she'd learned to quiet long ago. She bowed her head, collected the bone, and continued sweeping. It was safer to be small, to be invisible. The old healer, Mira, watched her from the doorway of the infirmary. "You let them walk all over you, girl," she muttered. "One day you'll forget how to stand tall." Arya forced a smile. "I'm not here to stand tall, Mira. I'm here to survive." But when night fell, and the pack howled beneath the full silver moon, Arya stood at the edge of the forest and stared upward. Her fingers brushed the faint scar of the mark that had once burned on her skin as a child. It no longer glowed, not since that night. Sometimes she wondered if it had ever been real. She whispered to the moon, "Why me? Why keep me alive if I'll never belong?" The wind sighed through the branches, carrying the pack's distant laughter. Behind her, a wolf's growl echoed low, commanding, unmistakably dominant. Arya turned and saw him, Lycian, the new Alpha, broad, shouldered, his eyes the color of storm clouds. His presence alone silenced the night. For a moment, their gazes locked. His wolf surged beneath his skin, a flicker, a tremor. She saw confusion flash in his eyes, followed by denial. He looked away first. "You shouldn't be here, Omega," he said, his voice like tempered steel. "Go home." Arya's throat tightened. She wanted to ask why her scent had made him pause, why his wolf had stirred the instant he saw her, but she said nothing. She lowered her gaze and obeyed. Yet the air between them still hummed like the distant memory of a song neither of them remembered, but both could feel. And deep within her chest, her wolf whispered for the first time in years, "He's the one who will break you, or set you free." The next morning, The Silverfang pack gathered in the courtyard. Frost glimmered across the stone, and the banners bearing the wolf crest fluttered in the cold wind. Arya stood at the edge of the crowd, clutching a basket of herbs for the healer. She shouldn't have been there. Megas were rarely invited to pack meetings, but curiosity was a dangerous habit she couldn't shake. The murmurs fell silent when Alpha Lycian stepped forward. He looked every inch the leader his father had never bent, all unyielding, a storm wrapped in muscle and authority. His gaze swept across the pack, hard and assessing. "My people," he began, his voice echoing. The Blood Moon Festival approaches. By tradition, the Alpha must choose his Luna before the moon turns. A ripple of excitement surged through the crowd. Female wolves exchanged eager glances, their hearts racing with hope. Arya stood still, the air thick around her. Lycian continued, "The Luna must be strong, worthy of leading beside me. No weakness will stain this pack again." His tone sharpened, and for the briefest moment, his eyes brushed over Arya. The moment their eyes met, something snapped inside her. A strange warmth coiled in her stomach, then spread, pulsing through her veins. Lycian froze mid-sentence. His nostrils flared. The entire courtyard seemed to still as his wolf reacted, low and primal, beneath his skin. A mate bond. Arya's breath hitched. Her basket slipped from her hands, herbs scattering like ash. She didn't dare speak, didn't dare move. The beta, Darius, stepped forward, confused. "Alpha, what is it?" But Lycian's jaw hardened. He forced the connection down, swallowing the instinct that screamed mine. His gaze burned cold as ice when it settled back on her. "This," he said, pointing to her. "This is what weakness looks like, a powerless Omega who cannot shift, cannot protect, cannot lead. Do you think I would ever claim such a creature as mate?" The words struck like blades, laughter rippled through the pack, harsh, mocking, merciless. Arya felt the ground tilt beneath her. She wanted to vanish, but her body wouldn't move. Every heartbeat hammered against her ribs, demanding she scream, that she tell them the truth she barely understood herself. Instead, she whispered, "I never asked to be your mate." Lycian's eyes darkened with something unreadable. Anger, pain, or perhaps fear of what he just denied. He turned away. "The announcement stands. I will find a Luna worthy of Silverfang." Arya backed away slowly, her wolf silent, strangled by humiliation. But as she left the courtyard, she didn't see what Lycian did. The faint shimmer of silver beneath her skin, glowing once before vanishing into nothing. And deep in his chest, his wolf roared in protest, furious at the lie his alpha tongue had spoken. The celebration of the blood moon should have been a night of unity drums echoing through the valley, wolves howling in rhythm with the rising moon. But for Arya, it was the night her soul would break. The courtyard glowed with torches. Wolves danced in their human forms, laughter mingling with the music. Arya lingered near the edges, carrying trays of food, trying not to draw attention. Her presence was tolerated tonight only because she was useful. She told herself she didn't care, that she was invisible, until Lycian's voice thundered across the courtyard. "Tonight," he declared, standing before the crowd, "the Alpha names his Luna." The drums fell silent. Every she-wolf leaned forward. Arya froze mid-step, her breath caught in her throat. Lycian's gaze swept the faces before him, confident, searching, proud. But when it reached Arya, it faltered, just for a heartbeat. His wolf stirred again, furious and restless beneath his skin. He clenched his fists, as if strangling the instinct that bound him to her. Then, with a voice sharp enough to cut through the night, he said, "It will not be the Omega." Gasps rippled through the pack. He stepped closer to Arya, his eyes glinting with cold fire. "I reject you, Arya of the Silverfang pack. You are no Luna. You are no mate of mine." The world went quiet. Arya's tray slipped from her trembling hands, shattering on the stone. Her vision blurred as the crowd murmured, some in pity, most in mockery. She could barely hear them over the roar in her head. "He rejected me," her wolf whimpered, claws scratching inside her chest. Pain erupted through her body, raw and white, hot, the bond tearing apart before it had even been embraced. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking, "don't." But Lycian's expression didn't waver. "You were never meant for me." The rejection sealed, the air itself seemed to shatter. The mark on her collarbone flared to life, glowing faintly beneath her skin, unnoticed by most, but not by the moon above. Aria stumbled backward, clutching her heart as tears streamed down her face. The crowd began to disperse, laughter trailing behind them. When she finally found her voice again, it was barely a whisper to the night sky. "I never wanted to be your Luna." But as the red moon rose higher, that faint mark on her skin pulsed once soft, defiant, alive. And in the shadows beyond the firelight, something ancient stirred, as if the goddess herself had been waiting for this moment. The forest had always been her refuge, but tonight it felt alive with something else. Aria ran until her lungs burned, branches clawing at her arms, the cold night air cutting like glass against her skin. Behind her, the Silverfang pack's laughter still echoed, cruel and distant. Lycian's words replayed again and again, poisoning every heartbeat. "You are no mate of mine." When her legs finally gave out, she collapsed beside the creek that bordered the packlands. The water reflected the moon, pale, watchful, almost sympathetic. She pressed her palms into the mud, her tears falling soundlessly. "Why would you curse me like this?" she whispered. "Why give me a bond only to have it torn away?" The wind shifted, the forest stilled, and then she heard it, a voice, soft and ancient, curling through the air like smoke. "Because power cannot awaken without pain." Aria's head snapped up, her heart hammered. "Who's there?" No one answered. Only the moonlight flickered through the trees, weaving patterns across the ground. But the voice returned, closer this time, feminine, melodic, carrying centuries of sorrow and strength. "Child of the moonblood, you have hidden too long." Aria's breath caught. "Moonblood, that name is forbidden. Those wolves are myths." A gentle laugh drifted through the night. "Myths are only truths the fearful tried to bury." The air shimmered before her. The reflection on the creek rippled, and then formed the faint outline of a woman, her hair silver as frost, her eyes glowing like the full moon. Aria stumbled back. "The moon goddess," the apparition smiled. "The very one your Alpha mocked when he rejected fate. His denial has broken the seal that bound your power." Aria's hands trembled as light began to pulse beneath her skin, the same crescent-shaped mark from her childhood burning to life once more. She cried out, clutching her collarbone. The glow spread across her body, fierce, wild, alive. "Make it stop. You cannot stop what you are," the goddess whispered, "but you can choose how to wield it. You may remain powerless and forgotten, or embrace the truth that was sealed within you the night your pack died." Aria's vision blurred with tears, half from pain, half from the impossible beauty of it all. "And if I choose power," the goddess's voice softened to a whisper that brushed against her heart, "then the next time the moon turns red, the world will finally remember your name." The forest darkened. The voice faded, and Aria, trembling and breathless beneath the ghostly light, whispered to the moon not as prey, but as something reborn. "I choose to remember." The nights that followed blurred into one long whisper of wind and moonlight. Aria no longer slept in the pack house. She had slipped into the forest after the moon goddess's vision and never truly returned. To the pack, she was gone, a disgraced Omega who'd finally vanished like the weak often did. But the forest knew otherwise. Every night, under the watchful eye of the moon, Aria trained. The power inside her felt raw at first, unpredictable, searing through her veins like wildfire. Sometimes it made her scream. Sometimes it left her trembling on her knees in awe. The mark on her collarbone flared brighter with each attempt, glowing silver instead of red now, as though the moon itself guided her. Mira, the old healer, found her once by accident. She watched in silence as Aria lifted her hand and called wind from the still air. Leaves swirled around her like a living halo. "Moon, save us," Mira whispered. "You shouldn't exist." Aria turned, eyes gleaming. "I thought the same once." But it wasn't just power that changed, it was purpose. The pain of Lycian's rejection became something else, something sharper, not hate, not love, something in between that twisted and pulsed whenever she thought of him. Far across the valley, Lycian tossed in restless dreams. Every night since he'd rejected her, his wolf had refused to obey him. He'd wake to the sound of howling that wasn't his own low, mournful, begging forgiveness. "Why do you fight it?" his beta, Darius, asked one morning. "Because she's nothing," Lycian snapped, though the words tasted like ash. Darius frowned. "Then why does your wolf act like he's lost his heart?" Lycian said nothing, but that night he stood at the edge of the forest, staring into the same shadows that had once swallowed Arya. The wind smelled faintly of wildflowers and lightening her scent. His wolf stirred again, desperate. "Arya." He breathed into the dark, though he knew she wouldn't answer. In the distance, Arya's eyes snapped open mid-training. She had felt him, that pull, that ache that tied them still. The bond, even rejected, was not dead. Her hands clenched. "You don't get to feel me." She whispered fiercely to the night, "Not anymore." But the moon above pulsed once in quiet defiance, as if to remind her that fate didn't care for declarations. And as crimson clouds gathered over the horizon, a faint echo of that ancient red moon, both wolves looked up at the same sky, hearts beating the same rhythm of longing and denial. Neither realizing the blood moon was coming again, the alpha of Silverfang was losing control. Lycian paced the length of his office, fists clenched, his wolf growling restlessly beneath his skin. Every sound, every scent in the pack house grated against him. But one scent haunted him most, the faint trace of wildflowers and rain that lingered in the corridors long after Arya's absence. He had tried to forget her. Goddess knew he'd tried. He told himself she was weak, unworthy, a powerless Omega, unfit to stand beside an Alpha. But his wolf never believed it. Every night he dreamed of her eyes, that quiet strength, the storm she hid behind silence, and now he felt something else, a power humming through the bond, faint but growing stronger. Lycian, Darius entered, eyes cautious. Scouts found strange markings near the eastern ridge. Burned symbols, moon sigils, old magic. It's spreading. Lycian stilled, old magic, yes, the kind the elders swore died with the Moonblood line. The name struck him like lightning. That's impossible. The Moonbloods were wiped out generations ago. Darius hesitated, unless one survived. The words hung between them like a curse. Lycian's wolf snarled, unease rippling through him. He didn't know why, but the thought of the Moonblood name sent a tremor down his spine, a strange, protective instinct he didn't understand. Later that night, Lycian found himself at the edge of the forest again. He didn't mean to go there, but something pulled him, a whisper, a heartbeat, something old and familiar. He pushed past the trees until moonlight bathed his path, and there, faint but unmistakable, he saw it, a single footprint glowing faintly in the dirt. His chest tightened. "Her Arya," he whispered almost reverently. For a moment his wolf surged forward, desperate to follow, but Lycian clenched his jaw and forced control. "No, she made her choice and I made mine." Yet the lie burned. Because deep inside, something told him she hadn't been what she seemed. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, Arya stood before the creek again, her reflection rippling with silver light. The mark on her collarbone pulsed in warning. She didn't know why, but her heart raced as if sensing him nearby. "Stay away, Lycian," she murmured. "You rejected me, remember that." But the bond twisted painfully, pulling at her chest until she doubled over, gasping. The connection wasn't gone, it was changing, reshaping into something ancient and dangerous. Far away, Lycian fell to his knees in the dirt, clutching his heart at the same instant. The pain was mutual. The moon glowed blood, red for a single heartbeat before fading back to silver, a warning neither of them understood. Fate was no longer waiting. The forest was alive with the sound of the hunt paws pounding against earth, breath turning to mist in the cold dawn air. The Silverfang pack moved like one living creature beneath the pale moonlight. Arya trailed at the rear, as always, the weak Omega. They called her, too slow, too fragile, too worthless to matter. She didn't argue. She'd learned silence was safer than truth, but tonight felt different. The wind hummed against her skin, alive with whispers only she could hear. The moon's pull was stronger, tugging at her blood, her bones, her very soul. "Stay back, Omega," one warrior barked as they closed in on their prey. She obeyed, lowering her head until a shrill cry pierced the night. A child. The sound tore through the chaos, small, terrified, human. Aria's heart stopped. Her gaze snapped toward the eastern ridge where a young boy, the Alpha's nephew, had stumbled, cornered by two snarling rogues with eyes like molten coal. "Get him," Lycian roared, shifting mid-stride, his black wolf colliding with a rogue in a blur of fury and teeth. But the second one lunged faster than anyone expected, straight for the boy. Aria didn't think. Something ancient surged within her, a pulse that burned hotter than fire, older than the moon itself. The earth quaked beneath her feet as her body trembled, skin searing, vision blinding white. Her scream became a roar. Light exploded around her, silver, wild, divine. The Omega was gone. In her place stood a wolf of pure celestial flame, fur glowing like starlight, eyes twin orbs of molten silver. Her howl ripped through the forest, shaking the leaves, freezing the rogues mid-strike. Every wolf turned to stare. Even Lycian battle, hardened, unshakable, froze. His chest heaved, his wolf whimpering in awe. Aria, the name echoed through the pack link like prayer. The rogues fled terrified, their shadows scattering into the night. The boy was safe, trembling but alive, and Aria stood above him, the air around her vibrating with power. Then silence, her glow began to fade, her knees buckling as the celestial light dimmed. She fell to the ground, human again, trembling, gasping for breath. Lycian stepped forward, eyes wide, voice rough. "What are you?" She looked up, her voice breaking not in fear, but in exhaustion. "The one you called Powerless." The moon rose higher, casting silver across her skin. The faint sigil burned once more on her collarbone, the same symbol that had haunted his dreams. And for the first time in his life, Alpha Lycian Silverfang felt something he never thought possible. Fear. The forest hadn't been silent since that night. Whispers lingered in the wind, half fear, half awe about the girl who wasn't powerless after all. Aria avoided the pack grounds for days. Every look felt heavy, every murmur a blade. The same wolves who once mocked her now stared from a distance, uncertain whether to bow or run. But Lycian couldn't look away. He stood on the ridge each dawn, watching the line of trees where she had vanished. His wolf paced restlessly inside him, claws scraping at his chest. "You rejected her, you broke her, I know." He whispered back to the restless presence inside. But what is she? The beta's warning still echoed in his head. The Omega isn't who she seems. He hadn't believed it, not until he saw her blaze like a star. Now, every breath he took carried her scent, wild jasmine and stormfire, and guilt, so much guilt. That night, a distant howl shattered the stillness. Then, another darker, crueler. The rogues were back. Aria was in the woods, gathering herbs near the riverbank when the scent hit her, ash, decay, blood. Her wolf stirred violently, fur bristling under her skin. She recognized that smell, the same scent that had filled the air the night her pack burned under the red moon. Her breath caught. He's here, the rogue Alpha, the one who slaughtered her family. A branch snapped behind her. She spun, claws half shifted, eyes silver. Shadows moved between the trees, too many, too fast. She fought, striking with speed no normal wolf could match, but there were dozens of them. From the ridge, Lycian saw the flare of silver light and didn't hesitate. He tore through the forest in wolf form, his pack close behind, his heartbeat thundering. When he reached her, the sight ripped his soul in half area surrounded, bleeding, eyes glowing with fury and pain. Without thought, he threw himself between her and the rogues, his black wolf a wall of muscle and rage. "Go." He growled through the pack link, "Get her out of here." But Aria's voice cut through the chaos, fierce, defiant. "I don't run anymore." Then she shifted again, her celestial form bursting to life, wings of light flaring behind her. The rogue Alpha stepped from the shadows, tall, scarred, his grin a wound, so the moonblood pup survived. Aria froze, the old terror clawing up her throat. Lycian turned to her, voice low. Moonblood. Her secret, the one she'd buried for years, was no longer hers alone. And as the darkness closed in, she knew this was only the beginning. The forest was a graveyard of silence after the battle. Smoke drifted through the air, curling around the fallen rogues. The survivors had fled, leaving behind only whispers and blood. Arya stood in the clearing, her body trembling, silver light fading from her skin. Lycian was beside her, blood on his jaw, eyes burning with 1,000 questions he couldn't form. She turned away, clutching her arm, refusing to meet his gaze. "You shouldn't have followed me." He stepped closer. "You think I could watch you die?" Her laugh was hollow. "You were fine watching me be humiliated." Lycian flinched. Her words struck deeper than claws ever could. The moon broke through the clouds then, bathing her in its light. The symbol on her collarbone glowed again, a crescent marked by a drop of crimson. Lycian stared, his breath catching that mark. "I've seen it in my dreams." Arya's expression softened, sorrow clouding her eyes. "You dreamed it because you were meant to. You are bound to me by the Moonblood curse." His chest tightened. "Curse?" She nodded slowly. "I am the last descendant of the Moonblood line, the wolves who carried the goddess's fire. My power was sealed when my family was betrayed. The spell could only break when my true mate rejected me." The words hung between them, heavy as fate. Lycian stepped back, horror dawning. When I rejected you, you released what you were meant to protect." She whispered, "Your rejection freed my power but bound our souls. Your pain is mine now, Lycian. Our fates are one." He shook his head, voice breaking. "No, that can't be true." But the mark on her skin pulsed, and a faint echo burned against his own chest, right where his heart beat fastest. He looked down, eyes widening as a shimmer of light traced the same crescent over his skin. The bond had sealed. The air crackled with divine energy, neither warmth nor cold, just raw connection. Arya looked at him then, truly looked, and for the first time, saw not an alpha, not her tormentor, but a man terrified of his own choices. "Why didn't you tell me?" he breathed. "Because," she whispered, stepping back into the shadows, "you wouldn't have believed me. Until now." A wind rose from the west, cold, bitter, carrying the scent of death. The rogue alpha's voice echoed faintly through the trees. "Moonblood, your prophecy isn't done yet." Lycian turned toward the sound, growling, but when he looked back, Arya was gone, and the moon above burned red once more. The blood moon rose again, vast, unblinking, cruel. Its light bled across the forest like a wound that refused to heal. The Silverfang pack gathered on the ridge, wolves bristling and restless. Lycian stood at the front, his black armor streaked with ash, his golden eyes fixed on the tree line below. He could feel it, the hum of dark power, the breath of an ancient enemy. The rogue alpha had returned. And this time he hadn't come alone. Dozens of dark wolves slithered from the shadows, twisted, massive, eyes glowing sickly red. The air stank of blood magic. Lycian's heart pounded, but his wolf was calm, ready. For the first time, he wasn't thinking of victory, only survival. Not just his, but hers. "Where's Arya?" his beta murmured. "She'll come." Lycian said quietly, though fear twisted his gut. "She has to." The rogues roared, and the battle began. Silverfang warriors charged, teeth flashing, claws tearing into corrupted flesh. The forest became chaos, screams, snarls, the crack of bone. Lycian fought like a storm, his wolf cutting through enemies like wind through flame. But the rogue alpha, taller, stronger, darker than any other, watched from the shadows, his grin mocking. "You've grown weaker, Silverfang," he taunted, stepping forward, his wolf form towering. "Did the Moonblood girl break you already?" Lycian lunged, their bodies colliding in a shockwave of power. The ground split beneath them. He fought with everything he had, but darkness consumed his opponent like armor. Every strike only fed it. Then from above, the air shimmered silver light tearing through the night. Arya descended like the moon itself, her celestial wolf blazing, wings unfurled, eyes lit with divine fire. The rogue alpha staggered back, a snarl twisting his face. "You, me," she said, voice echoing with both woman and goddess, "the one you failed to kill." She leapt, colliding with him midair, light against shadow, prophecy against curse. The sky itself split, lightning cracking across the red moon. Lycian's wolf limped, wounded, but he forced himself to stand. He charged into the fray beside her, black and silver fighting as one. For every blow she took, he felt it in his bones, their fates, their bond, pulsing with each heartbeat. The rogue alpha roared, lunging for Arya, but Lycian threw himself between them, taking the hit. Claws ripped across his chest, and he fell to his knees, blood soaking the earth. Lycian, her scream shook the heavens. The moonlight answered. Her form ignited, a halo of blinding white divine fury made flesh. With a single shattering howl, she released the full power of her moonblood line. The rogue alpha disintegrated into ash. The red moon faded back to silver, and Arya fell beside Lycian, catching his head in her trembling hands, tears glowing like stars. "Don't you dare leave me," she whispered. He smiled weakly, fingers brushing her cheek. "Never again." Then the dawn broke, and the first light of peace touched the Silverfang pack in years. The forest was quiet again, not with fear but with peace. Where ash once clung to the trees, new buds began to bloom. The blood moon had faded, and in its place, the morning sun broke through the clouds like a blessing. Arya knelt beside Lycian, the grass cool and damp beneath her knees. His chest rose weakly, each breath shallow but steady. Her hands glowed faintly with the remnants of her power, pressing against the wound that refused to close. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please." His eyes fluttered open, faintly gold even in exhaustion. "You always were stronger than you pretended to be." Tears slipped down her cheeks, "and you were crueler than you meant to be." A faint smile curved his lips, "Then we're both fools." She let out a shaking laugh, the first in what felt like years. Around them, the Silverfang pack gathered, silent, reverent. For the first time, they looked at her not as an outcast, but as their savior. The moon goddess's voice echoed softly through the clearing, not loud, but deep enough to stir every heart. Power was never weakness. A silver glow descended, enveloping Arya and Lycian both. The wounds on his chest closed slowly, leaving a faint crescent scar over his heart, the mark of the moonblood bond, eternal and pure. He reached up, fingers trembling, tracing the same mark glowing on her collarbone. "So this is what destiny feels like." She smiled faintly, eyes wet. "No, this is choice." He pushed himself up, wincing, until they were face to face. "Then I choose you." Her heart faltered, breath catching. "Even after what I've become because of it," he said simply, "because you're everything I never deserved, and everything I can't live without." For a long moment, neither moved. The pack stood silent. The forest held its breath. Then Arya leaned forward, her forehead resting against his. Their wolves hummed in unison, black and silver, darkness and light finally at peace. Above them, the moon shimmered faintly in the daylight sky, its blessing lingering even as the world woke anew. Lycian turned his gaze toward the horizon, where the sun bled gold through the mist. "What now, Luna?" Arya smiled, her voice strong and sure. "Now we rebuild, not as Alpha and Omega, but as equals." The wind swept through the valley, carrying away the last traces of darkness, and for the first time since the night the moon turned red, Arya felt whole. The prophecy had come full circle, not about power, not about vengeance, but about love that refused to break. The moon goddess whispered once more, her voice fading into dawn, "When power is hidden, love will find it." And under the rising sun, the Silverfang pack howled not in mourning, but in triumph. Their Luna had risen. Their hearts were free.